Action! Activate! And welcome. It is I, Gazbot. I'm here for a show that has an overlay that I'm looking for. Right here, Action Activate. And if I'm Gazbot and there's Action Activate, and with me as always is...
It is I. It is the Big Dog. We are both ready for that cold weather, not just the Gazbot, because, you know, when a season is over, it's time to go into hibernation. And we are talking about the final episode of Dino Fury Season 2, Part 2, Episode 22.
The Nemesis.
All right. So
okay.
We're going to do this in two ways. Everything's going to be this.
This is new to me. We didn't have to discuss this.
I know. That's why we're doing it live. We're going to treat it as a regular episode, and then we're going to treat it as the finale / what we think of the series as a whole. So initial impressions as an episode.
Good.
Yeah, I thought it was good.
Okay.
All right, and now as a season or series, I should say, because of 2 seasons, what'd you think?
So part 2 isn't... The first part was this episode as an episode.
Yep.
Part 2 is this episode as the finale for 2 seasons of a show.
Yep.
So we're not saying what do I think of 2 seasons of the show, but what do I think of the finale of 2 seasons of the show.
You got it.
Still good.
Yep.
I could expand more, but there are things I would have liked to see. There's things that like nothing horrendously bad. A lot of good stuff. There are things that would have been nice to see. A lot of the things are things that were like hinted at and the fandom has run wild with like, you know, crossovers and guests and like, you know, everything, things that didn't materialize, but were never promised to us. So it's hard to be like, well, what happened to that? You know, but there is of course the part of me that's like, what happened to that? You know?
Yeah. I know when we watched it live, as it released on Netflix like a month and a half ago, something like that now. So we're a little disconnected from our initial impressions, but we did rewatch it. We do have notes. Both of us do this time, which is how you know it's super official.
Yeah, man.
But I do remember like at the end, we were like, wow, you know, I feel like there was a little something I needed. And then like both of us did the little hole poking of like, wait, so I guess the Ninja Nexus star meant nothing and Mick never came back and blah, blah, blah. And we like kind of trickled in all the little things like that.
On the Ninja Nexus star, I think on one of our previous videos, we said something about that. And I think somebody in the comments, Matt, probably said like, oh no, they did say it was going off to look at something else. Like it was technically resolved. And I think that's the thing. There aren't any huge glaring holes, but little things that we thought would be bigger things, I guess. That's and I think one of the big things for the series as a whole, and now I'm having a brain fart moment, but I and most people thought there would be some Ranger crossover with other Rangers.
Yes.
Both because it's potentially the end of Power Rangers as we know it. You know, like we now know there's another season, but there maybe wasn't gonna be. And also it sort of is an anniversary season because if we didn't get that other one, you know, so and the last series finally brought back crossovers and had multiples and stuff. So it was like, it seemed likely, and I'm racking my brains. There was Mick.
Yep.
Were there any Ranger? I mean, and yes, he did turn into a Red Ranger. I understand, but like, were there any Ranger crossovers? Like there was.
They just did a lot of flashbacks.
They did flashbacks to Beast Morphers. Well, not even flashbacks. The Beast Morphers were technically active, but it was just stock footage. And we saw, you know, the captain, and we had villains come back like Scrozzle and Zed and stuff. We did have characters from other seasons, so I give them credit for that. But I don't think there was a single actual.
There was not morphed Rangers with the Dino Fury Rangers.
Was there civilian Rangers with Dino Fury Rangers?
I mean, we saw some people from Beast Morphers on a screen of like, hey, what's going on?
No.
You know what else? I'm going to be totally honest with you.
Yeah.
Whenever we saw the Beast Morpher stuff, I kept thinking, wait, isn't there this other thing? And I kept confusing it with Bloodline of the Grid, which was a better use of Beast Morphers Rangers, even unmorphed. Shout out to Nerdbot. But like that's why I'm like, yeah, like didn't we see Ben? Nope, that was Blood. Nope, that was also okay.
That also probably added to the expectation because all of those videos have so many guests coming back in various different ways, and so it's like always odd when it's like the fan films are doing it so much, and yet the official one, I mean, I guess it's New Zealand and whatever. But again, we're kind of, I don't. This isn't a complaint. I'm not complaining that they didn't do things that were never promised. They never said they would. It's just at some point, I think a lot of people assumed that other Rangers would show up, and I don't want to really complain because it's awesome that they brought back civilian characters and villains and things that they don't always do. So like they did do that. It's just it's hard to follow. It's hard to follow Beast Morphers. Specifically in that way, because Beast Morphers was one of the best seasons for like tying older stuff back in.
Yeah, Beast Morphers is the one that had the Dino crossover, not the Dino series having the Dino crossover, which is a little odd.
Yeah, but that's because of Sentai.
Well, here's the other thing. Taking that out of the equation, we had like a 5 or 6 episode Chaku arc in the last series where
it was not 5 or 6 episodes. I think it was 2.
I think it was much more than 2.
Say in the comments. My recollection was it was 2. If it was,
I thought it was a lot. Maybe I'm thinking of like both towards getting there.
There was also a Dr.
I thought he was in there a while.
There was a lot of that's the point, is that there was a lot of different cool things. We're talking about Beast Morphers too much now, but let's talk about the final episode because we're getting much too global. We have our notes.
Yeah.
Let me put it up here.
So we had a recap at the beginning saying everything that happened. The final thing we saw was Void King is no more. The power of love has triumphed again, and he is back to being Tarik.
Yes. Here, I'll skip the intro here. Previously on Power Rangers. And
so now, power of love works. Dope. Now we're all on the base talking about, hey, so that cocoon that all the Sporix kind of combined to with Void Queen.
Let's talk about the first shot of this final episode, which I think is great. The first thing you see is aerial view of the city and the big explosion that they were warning us about.
Yep.
And then they pan back and it's like, oh, this is a simulation and they're talking about what's going to happen. I like that. I like it because it's like, especially for kids, they're like, oh no, the explosion happened. What is that? And even as an adult, I'm like, what is this, a nightmare? Is this what's happening? And then it's like, oh, it's just a simulation. It's a trick we've seen before, but I liked it.
Yeah, I thought it was cool. I like them making the game plan here since they have a little bit of time, seemingly. Yes. Taking a look at my notes, Cocoon will hatch and make big boom. Void Knight Dad is helpful.
Explosion. Nice opening.
So they talk about their plan, and they think about using the power of love again to make Void Queen back to Santora.
I think it's Santora. Isn't a terrible plan since it worked with Void King, like unintentionally, but it still worked.
Yeah.
Then they cut, and we see the Ravkonians still fighting, kind of like cleaning up the leftover Sporix. And I like that because a lot of times, even though they're Power Ranger seasons, there'll be some side plot like this where they're like, well, we're moving on. We don't need to worry about that. So it just was like, oh, we're all done. Hey, evacuate the planet. Great. Now we don't have to see the rest of the episode, and I won't be bothered by the fact that we didn't see the rest of the episode.
My notes were Ravkon Knights keep smurfing Sporix, then leave.
Ravkonians still fighting. Warrior evacuate. Good.
I love our notes of just being just random words put in a line. But it was interesting though, because I don't remember how many knights they had. I'm assuming it was a ton of them or whatever, or warriors. But it was interesting that it's like every Sporix that we needed, sometimes every Megazord we had, and a new power up and all this, and these people in weird BMX gear going like, oh, hey, we took care of it. Don't worry.
Yeah, I mean, supposedly they're descendants of the Dino Knights, which is what Zayto is, and I chalked it up to the thing of whenever monsters come back, they're always less powerful.
But they specifically said that these monsters come back and are more powerful.
I know, yeah. Well, then these warriors, if it came down to a fight between these warriors and the Power Rangers would have lost. Is that what you want? Okay.
Yeah, no, I thought of it. I was like, man, like I don't know why other than they realized humans aren't terrible in the last episode, it's like, you honestly may have been able to take on both teams. I don't know.
Pop-Up saved the world is what we're learning here.
Yes. By planting trees and getting yeeted into a tree.
So they go back in, and now they're like, okay, we got to get her out of here. Here's a bunch of different ways we could do it, but it's going to mess it up. And then Zayto's like, look, I'm going to put on the Dino Knight armor. That might protect me from the blast that she's shooting out, and I'll teleport her away from the city so that, it won't hurt anybody.
They specifically said the desert, and I made a note of biggest anime trope ever of we need to take this final battle to a remote location that we've never been to until now.
There is a lot of anime parallels in this final episode for sure. I mean, this season had a few in general, but like this episode for sure.
But
Zayto's like, as the leader, I should do it. And then up steps Tarik, like, no, I'll be the Void Knight one final time. That's not even his voice. I don't know why I did that.
Yeah. One thing, speaking of Void Knight, that I put in my notes, and I think I mentioned to you when we were watching live, we have never really figured out how he can use powers in a way, something.
Yeah, he's not using them the way a ranger would, but like I think the assumption I always had, and probably everybody had some version of this, is that he like found a morpher, found the Dino Knight thing, which he could somehow use without a morpher or a key, whatever, fine, but he like eviled it into existence, like hammered it with energy, or put like shit, like technology that doesn't fit, or like just
part of the soul or something.
Yeah, just or like you had talked about putting a spore merging it, which would be a great idea, and that corrupted it and turned it purple, and it's like he could use it, but it's this like it hurts to use it, or like something like that. But it's more just like, oh no, for me it turns into a shield and I'm purple. Anyway, it's like, what? Like
everything about it was kind of weird.
Yeah. What would have been cool? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, that was it. I was just gonna ramble.
They did an instamorph, which is better than nothing, and we got to see it. But what would have been cool is if they gave him a full morph sequence and had it be similar to the Rangers, but have it like start off red, and like it's gonna be and him be like and like look like he's hurting, and it's like and crackling and turning purple, and he's like and then he gets in, and he's like and kind of like smoking, like okay, I'm ready to go. That would be enough of an explanation.
Yeah, like now that I'm not evil, this is rough.
Yeah, and just this isn't a normal transformation, and this is a painful, weird thing. You never explain exactly what's going on, but
to your point, also, evil is probably the wrong thing. It would make sense because purple is usually identified as evil, but he was so like mad and full of hatred before. That's what was driving him. And then he let that go, and then he got recorrupted into Void King, and now he's got none of that. So like you said, if he morphed and he's like, I have to like bring myself to like a dark place to use anything other than what they did. Just saying.
Or he does it, and he still has the shield, but it's red. He looks like a normal Red Ranger, and make a line like, it doesn't hurt anymore. And Zayto be like, you let go of the anger.
Well, so I believe, I feel like I saw images online of like this character in Sentai having an orange counterpart or like turning orange.
I think I did too, actually. Yeah.
So I get them not wanting to have a completely different suit for one episode. But again, there were about 19 different options we gave you guys, other than just like, there's a simple explanation for that and moving on.
I'll do you one better. Going back to our fan films, one of them has... they have a Psycho Ranger suit. I think it's green in real life. But they chroma key, and after, I don't know what program they use, but they changed it so it looks red in different shots. I think they did it for a black one too. So if a fan film can do that, they couldn't just take the purple and turn it red, orange, whatever. They could have done that because it was only one shot. We didn't even, because we saw him morph and then walk to the egg, and then he was unmorphed. So it was literally just, well, I guess 2 shots technically, but like, they could have done that, which would have been easier than getting a whole new suit. It's a minor quibble, but like again, they could have fixed it with writing if they didn't want to spend a single dollar on it.
Yeah.
How does he teleport?
Yeah. There's a simple explanation for that.
Well, because I feel like the Rangers use the morphing grid, but there's some sort. It seems like it's connected to the base and maybe Solon active. Like there's some apparatus that we understand is in place that allows them to teleport. I previously thought he had something similar, back at Area 51, but he's on the outs with them and he's not connected to, like, I don't know. I just wasn't sure how
he as Void Knight earlier in the season could teleport. They never explained it, but he could.
So maybe in this version, these powers just allow people to teleport without anything. Like if you have that morpher, but he doesn't have a morpher.
There's a simple explanation for that.
Yeah. All right. It's not a huge thing, but I thought maybe I missed. Yeah. Okay.
Let's see.
I'm halfway through page 1 of 5 notes, by the way.
I don't have 5 pages of notes. I'm halfway through my notes though.
Well, I also write like this, so it's
yeah. So one thing though, and I feel like I've said this about other finales that we've watched depending on the season, but the second he's like, I'm gonna do it, I'm like, this is TJ in the Lightning Cruiser and Turbo all over again. I'm like, that's gone. We're not seeing that thing again.
Yep.
And I was right. So that is pretty much what happened.
I bet. I mean, that's kind of what we'd expect because it's like, you know, the noble sacrifice of the formerly evil. Yeah. So he does it. They feel like a tremor, and they run out there, and he's like you said, it's gone. That's done. I think there's a shot I didn't show, but like you can see, oh, there it's like destroyed. And I love though that like they look up, and it's like, well, got her out of the city, but like there's this gigantic, huge monster that looks crazy. That did not. The Ion's like, so this thing is the Void Queen. I'm trying to find the image. That's her, but there was a shot of just, well, I can't get a perfect shot, but I like how gigantic it looks. It looks like bigger than anything, and it's so bizarre looking. It's very like, it doesn't feel like it. Here's what it feels like. It feels like either it's like Evangelion or like Big O or some kind of weird sort of design, or like season 1 Mighty Morphin. Like, because there was some weird stuff in there too. You know what I mean? Like, it just.
Every time I see suits like this, I think that this was ripped from a Sentai movie. Because every Sentai movie I've watched with you or on my own has some big bad that looks like grossly like extra, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And it does have the checkerboard pattern, so that fits the chess theme. So it's Ryu Soldier, but maybe it was either their finale or their movie. This is stuff we could look up, but we don't. But it was just it was a good reveal where they're like, this is what it, and I'm like, that okay, that's not just her being tall, that's just not a monster of the week, that looks like something worse and bigger. So good work.
The thing I liked about this was Tarik's like, I officially have no power. Good luck.
That's the right thing to do. It's not like he's a coward, but you know, what are you gonna do with it?
No, I know, but it's one of those things, depending on the season, sometimes you have that where they try to be in the fight, but they're going to get in the way, or they're like, you know, this is too dangerous, don't go, daughter, sibling, brother, love interest, whatever, and he's just like, hey, be careful, even though that's pretty daunting, and I'm just going to get out of the blast radius as best I can.
Yeah, I think that's great.
This monster was grotesque.
It was, and we know that it's Sentai footage, but we know that she is American. That suit is Japanese. It's from Tokyuger.
Yeah.
So we know this. Well, I'm catching myself. Was there? No. Okay. I'll say maybe there was a Tokyuger Ryu Soldier crossover movie, but I don't think there was.
I don't think so either.
I could be wrong about this, but my understanding is that they basically are CGIing her into the shots of the monster, which is clever. And they gave this little weird pocket she lives in, which is sort of, it seems like a cockpit. Yeah, it has 2 bones hanging over it. And I picture her just being like, bam, 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 bam.
Like a big claw machine.
Yeah.
Wait, that would be the great name for her monster thing, the claw machine.
This monster?
Yeah, I think it's got claws. It'd be a pun.
It would, but now it doesn't have claws. Hold on, let's back up. It's so hard to scrub now that I'm afraid. Oh yeah, in the shot I was looking at, it didn't. It does have claws, but it has hands. If it has claws, the claw machine would be a good name. I agree. That's not a Ninja Steel point.
Yes, it is. What's that behind here? Ninja Steel point.
But so they basically immediately try to tell her, like, hey, look, this is your daughter. What's going on? And she's like, I'm going to shoot at you and not believe you. And it's like, oh, okay. And
that's awful looking.
That it makes me think of like Hellraiser.
Yeah, like it's so not Power Rangers.
Yeah, well, that's what I say. It makes me like, well, going back to anime, like some weird event, like I'm inside a corpse, but my soul is being corrupted as I use this, but I have no choice, or like just some weird, it's very. And I like it though. I like it because it's different.
I agree it is different. I'm not going to say I don't like it, but I'm not going to say I strongly like it.
Right.
It is off-putting.
She takes some pot shots at Tarik, calls him a traitor, says she doesn't believe Amelia, and like they kind of get knocked down. And one of the notes I had as I was going back into this was like later on, she's like mopping the floor with Megazords, but here she's like, "Oh, I missed them," or "Oh, I shot him," and they like. And I'm like, how? And I'm like, oh, because she's playing with them. She's doing it on purpose. It's either she's toying with them or there's like a little piece of her that's still good that doesn't want to like kill her husband.
No, I take it as lazy writing potentially, but you know.
Well, my headcanon is that she's toying with them.
Sure. I'll take that over than the piece of good left in her.
Okay, fair enough. That makes more sense because she kind of misses them and like kind of hurts him a little bit. He leaves, and then she's like, yeah, look, that's all you're good at. And then she fires at Amelia. And Ollie like jumps in with the shield. I can't get the shot, but Ollie jumps.
It was good
and saves her, which is cool.
Yeah.
But again, like, how did he use his shield to block a blast that could take out a Megazord? But okay, she's toying with them.
Hey, you know, there's a simple explanation for that.
I do love when all the Zords show up and like jump over them. Like that was pretty epic.
It's one of these things that we talked about at the time. I get that you have to have water with the water-based Zord here, but it is weird.
I don't think you have to have that water, is the thing.
I kind of prefer if it could like float.
Yeah.
Or just flop on the ground.
Or flies. It does not need to have water. That is weird.
Yeah.
That aside, though, I did enjoy the way they just charged in, like, we're here, it's the cavalry. And then I guess my next all Zords showing up cool. And then my next note is DFM2 Smash. And I'm like, what? And I'm like, oh, Dino Fury, Megazord, Smash Formation, Terra Freeze, Battle Mode, and Moza Cosmic Megazord. Those are the three formations they go with, which is interesting that they didn't just go to like some kind of Super Ultra Zord mode. That's what I thought was going to happen.
I prefer in the finales when they do like all the, like utilizing all the Zords. The only one that's not is that one. It's a little bit of a bummer.
Little Dimitridon looking guy?
Yep. Huh. The Blazing Zord.
So I guess, is he a part on one of them, or is he just sort of like waiting on the side? Like, oh, if you need me,
like it was, I was looking and I was like, that's the only one that they didn't use. And the free Zord is just the free Zord. So you could have put it on there, but whatever, I guess.
It's interesting that they made a, well, maybe, yeah. Because then why was it in the,
it's Sentai footage. So
here's hold on. What is this sword right here?
That's part of the Cosmic.
Wow. Okay.
So here's the thing. You're damned if you do, damned if you don't. I prefer that you acknowledge that Zord is there. It is unfortunate that it is not incorporated in the Sentai Zord footage of all the Zords together. But I would have preferred that, like what we got, versus like, hey, aren't they missing one? Like, okay.
Yeah, because just not being in the battle at all would have been weird. I agree.
Yeah. But decent fight. I mean, at least in the beginning.
I think one of the things we commented on, though, is scale.
Yeah.
I think we both thought that this Nemesis was just gigantic. Like bigger than a Ultra Zord, just like it's like skyscraper tall. And then these Megazords, which aren't Ultra Zords, I mean, there's some of them have combos, but they're sort of standard Megazord size, are only like a little bit shorter. Like you get the feeling if they had made an Ultra Zord, it'd be the same height or maybe even taller. And that maybe this is the height it was always supposed to be, but I was a little disappointed because I thought it was going to be like, you know, like in Transformers, like they wouldn't be as small as humans, but you know how like there'd be like Devastator, which was like, you know, really big compared to like Optimus Prime, and I thought it'd be that where like, whoa, this like now they're the underdogs going up against this big thing, and they still are. But I don't know. The scale threw me off a little bit.
This is one, and again, I'm assuming all this is Sentai footage. I didn't like the distance they used for this fight. It was really far, which took out the disbelief of, I'm looking up at these things fighting. I'm like, those guys in suits are in a field.
This shot is a slight up angle, but I generally agree. They did a good job with like the writing of the attack. Like it was a teamwork attack. It ended up not working, but I agree with you as far as visual spectacle. I agree with that. But in terms of the writing, I liked that they were like, let's play to our strengths. And they didn't just like attack. They actually had a plan. We're going to lock them up. You fake. And then, you know, and it was a good plan. and then she's like bored now, and then just wipes him out. Like that was fun. That was good.
All of that part I enjoyed, and again, I understand it is the limitations of the Zord footage. Yeah, this is not a slight on Power Rangers. This is a slight critique on the Sentai.
Right, but yes, and going back to this fight where they do their moves, and she basically just takes it and then literally one-shots all of their Megazords. That goes back to what I was saying before about, yeah, she was playing with them too. When she was shooting at Tarik, she was intentionally missing, and she wasn't waving them out because she was sort of sadistically having fun. And that's proven by the fact that she just let the Megazords do their plan. It's like, yeah, whatever. It doesn't matter. Like, so toying with them all along. I'm not even saying that's headcanon. I'm saying that's canon.
I had a weird thought. Sorry. Yeah. Where I was thinking of Cosmic Fury and how they might incorporate Cosmic Fury. Thank you. I even forgot about that joke until right now. But I was thinking of the footage we saw and how the Q-Tamas from Q Ranger, how they are incorporating them into the Zords or into the Morphers rather. And I was thinking of like how they could try to get them to say Q-Tama and have it make sense in Power Rangers. And it's like, oh, the quantum. And I was trying to think of what Tama could be elongated at. And then Izzy could be like, oh, Q-Tama. Like something like that. And that's what I was thinking about for about 15 seconds when you're like, what do you think? And I went, uh-huh.
Why were you thinking that right now?
Because I saw both of them and I was thinking like, you know, how I like these Sentai suits and Power Ranger suits, but how these are the basis for now Power Ranger original suits for next season. Right. And then I looked and I saw the Morpher and ipso facto, here we are.
There's a good shot. A good upshot.
Yeah. But they do one that's like really high up where I'm like, there's too much dead space. I don't like that.
Well, and that comes back to them being in a desert, which is part of a plot point. But yeah, then she does her thing and they all get like just annihilated. And he's like, brace yourself. And then they're all out of their Zords immediately. And so Zayto, rightfully so, is like, Master Saber time. Cause you know, hey, what are we going to do?
Here's what I put for everything we just talked about.
Yes.
3 Megazords equals unbeatable villain. Plan fails. Zords almost wrecked. Dino MacGuffin Saber. Ultimate attack will probably kill him.
Okay, that's actually pretty coherent and better than mine. I wrote good teamwork attack. Bored now. She was toying all along. All Zords down. Zayto, Dino, Master Saber. Yours had like the intention and opinions behind it. Mine was almost just like facts that happened here.
What do you mean? Dino MacGuffin Saber is the form.
So Zayto tries to do something and he gets blasted back. And again, I take that as a toying with like, get out of here, peon blast, because should have been evaporated, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think it was Amelia who's like, wait, well, let's try something else. I got to try to get her to see me, whatever. And she says, are you ready to see? Wait, is it ready to see something wild or try something wild? Hold on. Let me see if I can find the.
Yeah, it's right around there. You're in the right spot.
Yeah. Let me chance hit and play for half a second. It's so hard. Yeah, okay. Well, she says something to the effect of,
like it's about to be wild, pretty much.
No, but it's a question. It's like, you want to see something wild or yeah. And this is something wild. It cuts to them. You can see them like way up on the top, flying down to land. And again, now it makes it look ridiculously huge again, which makes sense because they're tiny. The scale is done really, really well. It just looks like this crazy monster building they're going to land on. And so she says, you want to see something wild? Next scene, we see something wild. That question was delivered, answered immediately. The other question is, what? How did they get up there? They have no Zord. I mean, did they teleport? Like, what? How did they?
So I thought off screen they go synchronized teleport. Void Queen's like, oh, where'd they go? And they just teleport into the sky and then, you know, drop down Fortnite style.
And I think that is the most likely thing, and that is my headcanon as well. But
yeah,
show that, say that.
There is a simple explanation for that.
Again, budget, fine. You want to see something wild, and it is a fun cut to smash, and they're flying through the air. And then have one of them be like, I never teleported 2 miles above the earth or just anything. Like, didn't know our teleporters could work this way. Just, it'd be nice. And again, like it's a nitpick, but yeah, it just seemed like what? Like, okay. But that being said, that was wild. I did like it. This is like when the anime just gets ratcheted up because now they're just like flying along this big monster. It's anime. It also feels like a video game too, with the way a lot of this stuff is happening.
Yeah, it is interesting how this is like and again, this is Sentai. Crazy strong Zord monster exoskeleton something. Hey henchman, why don't you hop on my back real quick?
You know what though? That didn't bother me too much because it's like they're so small. It's like trying to swat a flea. You know what I mean? Like the flea can't really hurt you, but it's like, but if you had other little fleas to go take care of it, you know, like
I guess.
That being said, they're just blast through the henchmen way easier than they ever have before, which I have no problem with because the stakes have never been higher. So they're going to go harder. And this is 2 seasons worth of fighting and getting better and stronger and whatever. So like this is what should happen at the end of the season. It's like these henchmen are literally nothing to us anymore at this point.
Yeah. You know what I just realized? What? The beginning of the season, they said that henchmen were Ravkonian, and then the bad guys stole them, and that's why they've used them this whole time. Yes. Why didn't they have unmasked henchmen as those knights coming in instead of those random suits they cobbled together?
2 reasons. I understand what you're saying. 2 reasons. I think one, and this is probably the primary one, confusion with children. It might get confusing if henchmen are sort of good guys now, but they're still bad guys in the next scene. So that's my one thought. And my second thought is more like story-wise. I never thought that the henchmen were Ravkonian soldiers. I thought they were like Ravkonian technology that manifested these golems, for lack of a better term.
I still politely disagree. They took selfies at a place like 3 episodes ago.
That was terrible and did not match anything we've seen before or since.
But it backs up my
If they're supposed to be actual humanoid soldiers, why do they materialize from nothing and turn into rocks when they're defeated?
I think that like soulless golems, I agree with. But since these originated Ravkonian, there's no reason this kind of stuff couldn't be used by the Ravkonians.
Hundreds of thousands of years later, they wouldn't be using the same.
Hundreds of thousands of years later, they look way weirder and less technologically inclined.
Hey, civilizations go forward and backward. It happened on Earth, right? We had the Dark Ages. A lot of things went backwards for a while before they went forwards again.
They could have easily reused some of these parts as opposed to using dirt bike gear.
I like when they pass the sword during this fight. It's like, here, catch. That was fun.
Yeah. You just don't want to give it any more credence to you.
During this fight, again, going back to it's very video gamey. There's a scene that everybody's sliding around and just cutting everybody up. At some point, Ion is riding a henchman as a surfboard. I don't know how I feel about that. I don't hate it as much as you would think by me saying it. I don't know how I feel about it. I feel a way, but I don't know what the way is.
Again, Sentai footage is Sentai footage. You do with it what you will. And this opening like hole in the chest is still off-putting every time I see it.
It is off-putting, very video game again though, because as you see here, she throws the spear and it gets deflected, and it was never going to win or whatever. But it starts setting up the timing, like, oh, it's opening again. This is your chance. And right around this time, and I'm not going to try to find the visual because I'll probably never find it. I think it was Ollie or one of them hits a henchman and they're falling, and they jump off the henchman and go higher, like for like a double jump, which is physically impossible. Pardon me, but in anime or video games, I don't know. I just felt like, okay, well, we're fighting these guys, and they're not much of a threat, but at any moment, we got to wait for that thing to open, and you could fall, but you jump on this, and you can bounce back up, and then, like it feels very video game.
Yeah. The part that was, like, frustrating yet again is Amelia finally gets to the cockpit, and she's like, no, I'm your daughter. She's like, nah, yeeted out.
Somebody, I wish I had... When this was new, somebody had pointed out how the shot of Amelia down there lined up with another shot. I want to say maybe Super Mega Force or I don't have it now. I didn't pay attention to it because at the time it was a spoiler, so I didn't pay super. But like I was like, what are they? Oh no, why am I looking at So going back to again things being spoiled. I mean, I saw this exact scene, and I knew that this plan was not going to work because of spoilers I saw online. And I did not see
this.
What the outside of the monster looked like, but I knew there was a scene with Void Queen and Amelia with her helmet off, being like, "Hey," and Void Queen like, "Man, get out of here." So like I knew that was coming. Actually, the look of the giant monster and the fact that that was going to show up, that's one of the few things that didn't get spoiled for me, strangely enough. Or do you think that would have been a picture I would have seen?
Yeah. One thing I forgot to mention at the beginning of this fight when they see Void Queen all like this is we get a lot of throwback lines from Zayto. So he starts with coolio. Like when he sees the monster, I was like, thank you, bringing it back. She gets yeeted out. He takes the mask.
Dramatic,
yeah. And again, unmasked, if you're going to use original footage, you may as well use original footage.
Yeah.
He uses the saber. He's going to do an ultimate attack. Going to end up being destroyed. And then as he does this, very anime dramatic, he says, goodbye, old friend, which is the counter of when he first saw the T-Rex Zord in the beginning of the season.
I noticed a little bit of that, but you're like calling them all out. So Ninja Steel on that, on all the callbacks. Very good.
Thank you.
So the Zords, sorry, go ahead.
I had help from the internet, but I also did notice those two when I watched.
Gotcha. So the Zords, it was unclear if they were destroyed, defeated, power down, whatever state they were in. When he starts doing his move, it's like, okay, they're all coming in, they're all getting sucked in. And again, this is like crazy. I loved it. It was just so ridiculous. You have this huge, crazy blood monster thing, and he's like, here's a big giant rainbow sword that I'm gonna blast you with. Like, I loved it. It was really, really fun. Here's my note for this. Zayto, awesome, top 5 Red Ranger.
Wow.
Now, that doesn't mean as much coming from me as you, because I'm not a Red Ranger stan typically, and I'd have to think about like where he falls in that. But like, yeah, I always liked him, and over the course of the series, he ended up becoming probably my favorite character. And he's a Red Ranger, and then this move, and he's done a few of these. Either I'm gonna sacrifice, or I did sacrifice, or whatever. And it's always like, it's not. You don't get the feeling that he's like, I gotta do this. It's like, okay. I care about people, and I've thought about this, and this is the move I got to make. And like, it just seems more respectable and more like, I don't know, it's more impressive that he's just like, isn't making a big deal of it in a way. You know what I mean? Like,
I feel like, and this goes back to a previous point we made. I think that's part of the reason, other than we love crossovers and like callbacks, that we're a little bummed there weren't other actual Rangers in here to interact with Zayto or Ion or whoever. Cause like they are veteran Rangers, but they're only interacting with each other and these new Rangers that they've met at the beginning of the season. We don't get to see them interact with anybody and get anybody else in the show to say things like that to them. Because every season, whenever there's a crossover, they're like, oh, you're the greatest of all of us and you're the future of blah, blah, blah. Like, this is one of the few times where like I feel like they could have a genuine compliment or things said about one or more Rangers, and it can hit different than like, oh, you're the latest, so you're the greatest, and like, no, it has nothing to do with power. Like, no, you are a great leader and kind of everything you said. So just a little bummer in that regard. But this, again, was really cool. I think they had mentioned with the saber that it drew energy from the Zords, and that's why it was so powerful, but I could be wrong.
In this episode, I don't know if they said it earlier, but they literally, in this episode, it's like the power of all the Zords are going here. They say that here. And the Void Queen, again, anime, like so anime. What is this power? Like even the phrasing of it and everything is just like.
Here's the other thing that got me about this.
Yes.
We have a MacGuffin sword that we got from the Morphin Masters.
Right.
That you have to sacrifice everything and you can destroy anything.
Yes. And
Void Queen still survived it.
I am okay with that. Here's why I'm okay with that. I think his intention was not to kill Void Queen or destroy, as the show would say. His intention was to destroy this threat, this monster, because he knows Void Queen is Amelia's mother. He is good. If you take out this Sporix beast, Void Queen on her own is defeatable and containable and maybe redeemable. He wasn't trying to take out Void Queen, or she would be gone.
To me, the ultimate attack or finisher or whatever it's called doesn't get you mostly destroy this thing and not others thing. It's a everything's gone.
that okay, so you're thinking it's like a beam of unstoppable death.
Yeah.
I'm taking it as a wish granter.
Nope.
I am deciding to sacrifice my life to make this thing happen. I'm sacrificing my life to destroy this Sporix monster threat. She's not part of that. She's in it, but she's like a pilot, a passenger, whatever you want to call it. I see no reason why I mean, given the weird magic power stuff that's going on, like the Morphin Masters created this. Why couldn't they create it to be a scalpel instead of a sledgehammer?
I take it as a sledgehammer. You take it as a magic wand. Let us know in the comments what you think it is. Because you and I will never agree on that.
No, that's fine.
Yeah.
I do like when it fell, it made this huge, huge cloud, and then it's at this weird tilted angle with static all over it in the background. A lot of fun shots here. A lot
yeah.
of really fun.
Now, this next thing I'm going to say,
uh-oh.
I've been trying to figure out how to word it where I don't sound mean. Stay right here. Stay right here.
I know. Okay, go ahead.
This 5 seconds was the best Ion we've had all series. And can you just do this all the time? And in Cosmic Fury, please. That's all I got to say.
The writers or the actor or both?
The actor.
Okay. I've been as hard on Ion as anyone. And part of it's writing, part of it's acting. You know, it's hard to tell where exactly the direction comes from directing. But all that being said, I do think his arc has been one that he went up and down for a while, but towards the end of this season, it's been a steadily getting better character.
Agreed.
And even if he's just as not even like yes, this was a good scene, this was some good emotion. I'm not holding him to this standard because how can you have this on a day-to-day? But if his character, whoever's making these decisions, is portrayed as he has been towards the end of season 2 going forward, I mean, make him better, great. But if he's at least this good, fine.
Yeah, when I saw all of that emotion from him and just everything, I was like, dude, like, where you been?
Yeah,
good to see you.
Now Void Queen is standing there and she says something that I thought was weird. She says, you know, they're all out of their power. Seemingly they can't morph anymore. Maybe it's one of those things where they can in an hour or whatever. But she's like, you know, oh, what a sacrifice. But my victory is assured and my Sporix are safe. Victory assured, maybe. If they have no Zords, they have no power, she could win right now. Fine, I'll accept that as a possibility. My Sporix are safe. They're not, though. They've been destroyed or depowered or, you know, whatever you want to call it. They're like, I don't know why she said they were safe. Like, I don't know what that meant, even.
I didn't either, because to me, again, with my theory is when that thing behind her is gone, he vaporized everything. He snapped those out with power.
Right. Yeah. So we do find out that that's not technically true a minute later, but even when she said it, I just didn't understand. Like, how are they safe? Like,
which again, oh, man, I'm bumming myself out when we come out with really good ideas that we know aren't happening. All right, side tangent for a sec. I don't need a one shot though. We have determined by the writing and the villains that Sporix can be used for energy.
Mm-hmm.
We've also determined that MorphX is energy from the Morphin Grid. Why was there not a crossover of needing MorphX and Sporix to do something really cool?
Or even just say, you know what, it's too hard to get all these Sporix and we're fighting the Rangers. Why don't we just go steal it from one of those MorphX towers? Not realizing there was another team of Rangers that was going to
If only there was a villain that could have put all of this together.
Some kind of Bosley, Chazel, Scrazzle, maybe.
Oh my god! And you know what? He also could have teamed up with another general from the current bad guys that would have had good back and forth with him. Oh my gosh! It was the same person voice acting him the whole time. Friend of the show, Campbell Gooley. What? Hasbro, make a comic about it. Anyways, yeah. So that was a weird line from her. And again, everything's wrapped in a bow in a sec because we get
I remember noticing they've won. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, she said, Amelia. "Oh, I'm good," this and that, and Amelia, final power of love, like touches her, does her whole antenna thing, and is like, "I'm your daughter," and she's like, "Oh my gosh, you are my daughter." Whoa, power of love.
The one thing I didn't like in there, I don't have as much problem with the power of love as you do, because especially since they've established it works, and the fact that it didn't work when she got up there and then had to work later, I'm fine. Like we had our one failure, and that's cool. Well, two actually, because she yelled it, then she tried to touch or whatever. But I was annoyed that in the earlier earlier episode, she got the wish thing, and she wished to see her parents even for just a second, and then Void Knight and Void Queen show up, and that's, we knew, or I knew, and then later we know for sure that that's her parents. They show the scene of her going, I wish I could see my parents in this flashback, and it doesn't show the scene of them. That was the chance. What you do is you put both of them in and you have your Sixth Sense moment, or you leave that out because it makes no sense without the other part. A little thing, but because I picked up on that way back then, and I was like, what a cool thing. Like, why would you not cash in on the you set that up? Why are you not paying it off? Like,
because again, it is for children, and they didn't put that in for the children.
That makes no sense. All right.
No, I'm with you. No, I'm saying this is everything you told me earlier because of for the children. Yeah. This is the opposite of that, so it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. At this point, I was thinking, like, we got like 7 minutes left. What? We're done. What's going to happen here? And what happens is we get a really long, like, sort of after the fact, like 6 months, like more than we usually get.
And this is like 7 to 9 months in the future.
Yeah. Oh, you know what? One thing I wanted to complain about real quick. When Zayto's gone, before she comes and does all this, there's a shot of all the Rangers being upset, not Amelia. And it's just weird. And oh no, it is after, because she's with her mom and dad. But it is weird that they're all like, the Morphin Masters show up. That's what I'm trying to find.
Yeah.
The Morphin Masters show up and they're like, you've lost your friend and that's sad, but we're going to take the Sporks and contain them.
And put them in this totally contained, unbreakable thing.
Which we know is not. But they're powered down, so it'll hold them. But
now we know it is.
Well, right now we know it is, yeah. But later this episode we learn it's not. But also to your earlier point of this unstoppable beam, the sledgehammer that should destroy everything, didn't even destroy the Sporks. It eliminated the immediate threat, powered them down. They were still there. They could have powered back up again if they weren't contained. So it really isn't as powerful as it's made out to be.
Yes, and that is the problem I have with it.
Or it's a scalpel, magic wand, whatever you want to call it. But my issue with this part is we see the 4 Rangers, and it was a weird thing where I was doing the math because they're talking to him. They're like, we miss Zayto, all this stuff. And I'm like, wait, but there's 4. They have a 6 Rangers, there should be 5. Amelia's not with them. And yes, we know she's like talking to her parents, but in this moment, she should be standing next to her team talking to the Morphin Masters about their leader. It's not crazy bad writing that, okay, she's standing somewhere else, but in terms of like blocking or choreography or whatever staging, she should be with the team. This is the team in mourning saying, help us. She should be there. It's a weird decision that she isn't, and it bothered me.
The only way I would have forgiven that is if we found out she wasn't going to be in the next season, but we know she is.
Oh, like so that like the actress had already left or something?
Like if it was like a Rocky in the beginning of the Turbo movie kind of thing.
Well, then that would be the beginning of next season, but this is still this episode. Like,
this is what I'm saying. This is what was I gonna say? There was something. Yeah. Oh, to what you said about the Morphin Master Saber. In both of our theories, the inconsistency is, I think if it's crazy powerful, it should wipe out the Sporks completely. If the wish theory is correct, then Zayto would have just, wanded them out of his existence. He would have said no more Sporks, and they would have been gone.
I agree. Either way, the Sporks should have been gone.
Yes.
Unless they're so powerful that even this super powerful saber can't destroy them, then it's like, well, then it's not all powerful.
If the Morphin Masters can't destroy Sporks, something is wrong. The power creep is too strong.
And they said they're going to contain them, which then makes me wonder, like, can they not destroy them, or is it like an ethical thing? Like, and this is a problem with all the Power Rangers. Like, are these monsters just supposed to be like forces of nature that are like not really people or personalities, and you can destroy them and they kill them for lack of a term, and then that's fine? Or is it like, well, they are actually living beings that we don't want to kill, so we'll imprison them forever? Like, that's a weird thing through all of Power Rangers. And so I guess I'm taking it as like, they're too dangerous to let free, but we're too moral to destroy them completely. So we're doing this and that. And if that's how the Morphin Masters believe, that it would make sense that their weapons would have that sort of limitations in them.
Yeah, agreed.
My next note says Morphin Masters going forward, because I like the idea of the Morphin Masters and how they talked about the hidden hand guiding things and stuff. And if they sort of like were like, you know what, green's okay, and we kind of have to stay hidden, but you know, maybe we're not like we'll help from the shadows. I could live with that. But they're like, we saw a surge and we came right away. We're gonna take a more active role. You know, we gotta stop hiding in the shadows. It's like, is that gonna continue next season and or into future Power Rangers? Because that's weird. That's weird if they have these things that are not mentors, but just like super powerful, like essentially the most powerful ranger of all time. There will never be a more powerful ranger than the Red Morphin Master. Like, you can't. And so if they show up to help, they should always win. And if they don't win, then it's something that no Power Ranger could ever defeat. Like, it's just weird to have these like godlike beings that are saying, yeah, we're gonna show up now.
My hope, and they're not going to do this, but my hope is next season the Morphin Masters have to sacrifice themselves or like use their bodies as like a prison for something or other, whatever, and then a previous team of Rangers fill their role, but obviously without all of the crazy get out of jail free powers.
How would they fill their role if they don't have crazy powers?
Well, because we know that, you know, spoiler alert for those who haven't seen any Cosmic Fury stuff, that Walter Jones is back and David Yost is back. If like that team came and they're like, we're going to be the Watchers of the Grid, we are going to look and do this stuff. We don't have
mortal people, but they'll like kind of be keeping an eye on things.
They're like, somebody's got to look at stuff, and who better to do it than the originals? Haha. Right. Yeah. Callbacks, nostalgia.
That like certainly makes sense for Billy too.
Yeah, so like I think that would be cool. But if not, you know, whatever. I agree that this is that Pandora's box problem of like, oh, you have the most unstoppable power on your side. What do you do now? You just write it out all the time, or what?
Right, but then there's also the thing where the Morphin Masters said like, well, we were being hunted, and the implication that some of them were killed, destroyed, captured, whatever. And it's a thing of like, well, who can do that to them? And like, it's just a weird, it's weird to quantify how powerful they are, what's a threat to them. Like, because like it's almost like once the concept of them as gods of the Power Rangers, for lack of a better term, in and of itself can work. But once they reveal themselves and interact and talk about weaknesses and strengths and limitations, it's like, well, now you're not really a god anymore. You're not like this sort of energy theory that might, it's like now you're a character. Now you're another superhero. And maybe if they're Batman, you're Superman, but you're still a superhero that falls on the spectrum somewhere. And that makes it's different. It's not the same as being like, you know, the will of the grid. I'm
going to call shot that one of the Morphin Masters either defects or gets corrupted next season.
Okay.
If they're included.
Here's my call shot, which won't line up with the comics exactly.
Yeah.
They're going to have to go into space / another dimension to some area where the Morphin Masters are not. We're not there. You're on your own. We can't help you out there. Even though the grid goes everywhere, if they're still using powers, how does that work? I don't know. But I think they're going to write them out and just say like, yeah, we can't help you out there. That'll be established in like episode 1. That's what I think.
Okay. Works for me.
They say Zayto's here, but not gone. He, you know, everywhere the morphing grid touches, you'll find him. And then they make his necklace out of the sand, or they pick it up out of the sand. I don't remember him wearing that necklace, to be honest. I'm sure he wore it like every episode, but like I didn't remember.
I don't even remember that part being brought up.
Right here.
Yeah, I know. I don't remember this part.
Well, no, but I'm saying this is what happens: is they say he's not here, but he's not gone, and they say anywhere the morphing grid touches, he'll be around, something like that. And then out of the sand, this thing pulls up, and Zayto takes it. And my assumption was, oh, it's his necklace, and they either pulled it from underground where it had fallen after the explosion, or they recreated it. But I did not. I wasn't like, oh, like if it was his hat, I'd be like, oh, it's his hat. You know, like, but it was like, did he wear a necklace? I guess I don't remember that. Okay, and then they're like, anyway, we'll see you around. Bye.
They leave. Everybody's hunky dory. Cue time jump.
Yeah. Oh wait, one thing we forgot: Mucus survives, which I love.
Oh yeah, that is cool.
Yeah. So time jump, and now the Refconians are living on Earth. They're retrofitting the Area 51 bunker.
62.
Is it 62?
Yeah.
I couldn't remember. Did it say it on the door there? Is that why you knew it so well?
No, they've said it multiple times throughout the entire series.
I always forget because Area 52 is the real one.
51 is the real one. 62 is the fake one.
51 is the real one?
Area 51, yes.
Oh, like the video game. Right. Okay. So anyway, they're Area 27, and Pop is there, which makes sense because he used to work there and he knows all the different parties involved. And
yeah, he said, "I'm going to build up Area 9 3/4 better than anybody's ever seen."
Yes. And then something we both commented on, and again, I do like this. 6 months later, here's what everybody's doing. Like, because I was trying to think of how all the different seasons end, and there are some that show a little bit what's happening, but it really felt like, oh, this is like the wrap up of like, and here's where everyone's life is going and everything's happy, which very often you don't see that. It's like, hey, we win. Let's leave our morphers on the table and walk out the door. Like that's, she's very pregnant.
Yes.
It's been 6 months. She's at least 6 months pregnant. At least. I mean, Rafconians might be different, but it does seem like they had a celebration like that.
Centaura, Tarik, baby.
Yeah. Which, fine, whatever, but it's also a little bit weird timeline-wise because now Amelia, who's like 20 or ish, she's out of high school, is now going to have this this baby as a sister. And also like, did their aging stop? Like, it's the same thing of kind of like Tyler and his dad, where it's like this weird, I don't know, just there's something weird about it. I can't,
like you're 5 years older than me.
Yeah. I don't know. But that was like fine. That's not that weird. And I don't remember if we talked about this when we watched it, because again, we watched this together when it was like
love the shirt.
Yeah, why not? It got the darkness out. Now he's embracing his
he went from lots of chains punk rocker to Hawaiian shirt / what's
that famous rocker guy that has
Sammy Hagar?
No. He has a chain of like restaurants.
Jimmy Buffett.
Yeah. Jimmy Buffett.
Cheeseburger in Paradise, Margaritaville.
Cheeseburger in Paradise, Jimmy Buffett. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're all arguing about what color to paint the little crib thing, and Amelia's like, "Oh, may I?" And she puts her hand on the belly to do baby telepathy, I guess. And here's my take on this. This is 100% a joke. How do you take it?
Again, if they didn't have it, it would leave less questions.
Oh yeah, not necessary. I took it as a joke because her antenna doesn't come out, which, I mean, the antenna thing has never been 100%, but it's generally understood that if you want to use telepathy, the antenna come out. That's usually how it goes. Also, wouldn't the mother be able to read her own baby's mind? Also, a baby isn't going to have concepts of color and what's like that. That just isn't happening. Even if so I took it as she likes green and she's making a joke. And if that's the case, then it's fine.
There is a simple explanation for that.
Right. It's a joke. And then, so continuing with the happily ever after, we see that Izzy wins like a championship. She breaks a record again.
Yeah.
And then Ion has this new restaurant where he sells.
Go back. Dang it. Go back one.
Yeah.
Okay. I was trying to see what the tagline was, and it says they're out of this world. I thought it would be a funnier pun, but
I appreciate that you want to look. Another thing that was spoiled for me is that Ion ends up having a restaurant with his face on it with the antenna out. Thus,
I didn't get spoiled for this, but before this, around this time, we see a thing for a magic show, and it looks like
after this. It's right.
Oh, it is after? Okay.
Yeah.
It's for Mr. Wiz and Mucus's human form, essentially.
In here, yeah.
Which, again, that is a great Easter egg. What?
What do you mean, what?
We saw Mucus survived. Why is Mucus human when she hates being human? Also, okay, great. I thought that what's his name was destroyed like every other Sporix, or that he wasn't a Sporix and he just was straight up.
It was a robot that was built.
Cool. So the robot got destroyed. How is he human?
When did they show him get destroyed? I was trying to remember this. He was fighting Amelia underground. The rest of the team show up and they defeated him at that point.
I thought he got sucked in like everybody else.
He's not a Sporix. He's a robot.
All of these are unanswered questions / answers.
The answer for Mucus I have no issue with. Mucus survived. She's sneaky. She got away. Fine. That's been her character the whole time. She turned human. She doesn't like it. It's a disguise. Fine. I'm okay with that. Slither is a robot. He wouldn't have been sucked into the sporks thing. The only thing Slither had to survive was his final battle with the Rangers. Can't remember exactly how that ended. But if it ended in anything other than him exploding and being destroyed, if he escaped or was knocked down or fell through a hole, then he survived. And he has the ability to change his appearance. Presumably, he's responsible for her changing her appearance. So that doesn't really bother me unless somebody in the comments is like, no, they showed him explode and be destroyed for sure. In which case, even then, I'm like, maybe Mucus rebuilt him. Maybe it was a trick. Because he wasn't a Sporix, it's fine. I have no problem with it.
Okay.
You still have a problem even after the genius things that I just said.
I would love a better explanation than us trying to theorize how Slither's alive or not alive. Or shouldn't be alive, I should say.
Okay, I mean, I agree with that.
Also, I thought people didn't like Flargen cake, and then out of the blue, they're like, hey, guess what I like, Flargen cake?
The assumption I have is that it's like an acquired taste thing, and it's like a foreign food where people are excited. I would try it. I might not go back again and again, but it's like, hey, here's some crazy alien food. Let's try it. Why not?
I guess.
Keep
on keeping on. Everybody talks about random things.
Izzy talks about how she's going to go to the same school as her girlfriend, so that's nice. Now that just for that, Jane and Jayborg are eating the Flargen cake, setting up a future mess because they're going to have a huge one for some kind of celebration. And they talk about going to Angel Grove with Buzz Blast, which is a little wink to Mighty Morphin. It could be, well, that's where they run into Billy and Zach, but I think it's more a way of writing them out of season 3. I think it's more that we're not going to see them.
To me, and this is my understanding from like the interview we saw too, they didn't know they were getting the season 3, so they were hoping by doing all of this stuff that it was nice little Easter eggs they could do.
Well, my understanding is that at some point before they finished filming season 2, they found out they would get season 3. We don't know when that happened or how it affected. It's possible that literally just those last 2 minutes were tacked on, or it's possible they knew it through this whole episode. I don't think we've been given a timeline that precise.
My understanding is they didn't really know until soon after. Like, my understanding from the interview I saw was
all of it, including the final scene with Zayto.
From my understanding, even the final scene with Zayto was Simon Bennett going, "Here we go. We hoped we could keep it going, but if not, like it was just a cool little thing."
Okay, all right. Jane and Jayborg, their final scene where they smash their faces into the cake, perfect. A little bit comedic, totally appropriate. Didn't bother me at all. Bye, guys. Yep. Yeah. Most of this ending stuff was all very appropriate. Oh, here's the circus.
Oh yeah, this person's playing Javi's song.
Yeah, which again is like, okay, so he's getting more popular too. The implication being that these are all exceptional people that were held back by being Rangers, and now that they have their free time, their full, they're succeeding at all their things, which makes sense because they were already doing pretty good even being Rangers, so I have no issue with that. It's a little bit cheesy that everybody like succeeds their chosen thing, but in a show like this, I think that's fine. That's what it's supposed to be. That's what I want to see as a kid, I'm trying to get it to land on this poster. For some reason, there it is. Yeah, I'm not. So that's Campbell and the voice actress from Mucus. That's her human form in this poster. Mm-hmm. This was ruined for me too. This was spoiled.
Yeah, that got spoiled for me too.
Spoiled by Campbell, to be honest.
Yeah.
Somebody posted this, and it was almost this picture where it had the two of them and Ion in the background with his restaurant and everything. So this all got spoiled. It's amazing how much stuff got spoiled. I'm really hoping, because they're saying for the new season on Netflix, it's going to be global release. Spoilers will still be possible, but it won't be this thing where it's days, weeks, months ahead of time. Yeah. So like presumably if I watch it the day it comes out, I'll be okay.
Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. Okay. We talked about this. And he's like, here you go. And then the Ranger comms go off. Which also I like because, again, I'm making generalizations, but usually once the big bad is done, the Rangers hang it up and don't have their equipment. But this is like, oh, they still have their comms. They're still talking to Solon. It's still like they're still living that life just in a happy, peaceful way. And that makes sense because, like, yeah, if I got superpowers and was friends with a bunch of superheroes and had a dinosaur pal and a secret base, once we beat the big bad, I'd like, well, we're still friends and I'm still going to visit the dinosaur. And like,
well, also in theory, they could be helping with like little things. Like it's like, oh, there's a flood going on. The Rangers can help. Like, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. Friendly neighborhood Power Rangers.
Yep. Solon's like, come back to base. We get the physical comedy joke of the Flarkin cake. Hey, what's going on, Solon? Why you call us back to base? Blah, blah, blah. Hey, guess what? Zayto's not dead.
Anyway, yeah, you're really skipping that, but she thinks
we're over an hour and 5 minutes, and I have other things I got to do, unfortunately.
Oh, okay. Well, we're gonna be done. Yeah, we're not recording anymore today. I'll tell you that. I like that she thought it was a ghost. As much as I'm not a fan of some of the Amelia stuff, that is appropriate. That she's like, it's a ghost. And yes, you're right. Zayto's back. The way they shot it, I was trying to get it. I like the music cue a lot and the up angle and the kind of the glowy. And the actor who plays Zayto, whose name is escaping me right now, but I saw him talking
Russell
about
Curry.
Russell Curry. Thank you. He remembers watching Tommy come back as a White Ranger, and he was kind of trying to channel that energy of like, what's this gonna be about? And like the whole way they shot it feels that way too. And yeah, I enjoyed that. What's funny is this suit, I feel like we won't see much of this suit, especially because we've seen the redesigns now. And this backs up what you were saying about them not knowing that they were gonna be doing more, because it looks, they just reverse the colors and put a cape on it. It's not that big of a deal.
And the shoulder pads.
Right. Well, the shoulder pads I don't like. So the shoulder pads,
but it's in line with the Rafconian stuff we saw.
Good point, Ninja Steel. I do like the cape. I don't mind this, but it's not different enough. Like the other suits, obviously, if they're going to do new suits, that's like a real new suit. What's weird is the Morphin Masters have given me new powers, and like, how'd you come back? And he's like, I don't know. That's fine. It's they address it, and he's like, I don't know. And yeah, they didn't tell him. Why would they? They're gods, whatever. Pardon me. Going back to things that were spoiled, the fact that he sacrifices himself was spoiled, and the fact that he comes back and he's a White Ranger was spoiled. And I'm not talking like the day it aired. I'm talking like a month before.
A while. Yeah, this got spoiled for me too. I did kind of forget it, and then I saw it spoiled again. And I was like, oh, that was the thing I forgot. Got it. Thanks for the reminder, Internet.
Yeah. And he says that Lord Zed is back. That was also spoiled for me. That at the end, Lord Zed will be the new villain for season 3 or whatever. Then they're like, and he's like, we got to go right now. And they're like, fine. There's no question. There's no like, I got to go hang this thing up. Like, we're with you, buddy. And they do the link to Morphin Grid. Now, this is the one I picked, Smooth. I think in like the first or second episode when he was like training, we gotta get it smooth. Like, so I like that. That was the full circle moment I got. I didn't get all the other ones, but I was like, that was a pretty cool ending. Now, I'm happy there's gonna be another season, but if this was the ending, I'm kind of okay with that. I'm kind of okay with, and they had further adventures. All of it was nitpicks, mostly good things to say. Some really great stuff, some good stuff, some average stuff. Really nothing terrible, just nitpicks. I like it. I like it.
Agreed. I thought this was a good episode. Decent finale. Couple nitpicks here and there. I'm glad that there weren't like egregious kind of slapstick things taking us out of it, which was good. Great. Sometimes they try to like put, we need to check these boxes. It's like, no. Just let it be. That suit was cool. The only minor critique I had, I don't think the suit bothers me as much as you. I would have liked if the helmet had a little bit of tweaking.
White stripe or something.
Yeah, something on the sides would be cool. Like, whatever.
Color, just paint, just colored tape, anything.
Yeah.
It didn't bother me. It just wasn't different. The shoulder pads I didn't like. I thought they looked badly made. They looked like foam core or something.
That part I was okay with, but it, like, when I saw it and I saw his regular helmet, I'm like, oh, it looks like you kind of like kit bashed this and photoshopped it. Like it should be a new thing where it's like, oh, I took the Red Ranger helmet from this and put it on this new body I made. You're like, okay. Yeah. Again, I don't know how many of those helmets you have. I feel like you have enough where one of them you could tweak.
I think, again, I agree. And I think paint would have been enough. They don't have to change it. Just put a white stripe on the top.
No, exactly. Some difference in color would have been fine.
Agreed. It's been quite a run. This is the second, like the 4th full season we've done live, the 2nd full team we've done.
The 5th? Live, yes.
Yeah, live. Yeah.
We did
it today, but yeah. We started this show right before Beast Morpher started. Our first episode, I think, was responding to the teaser trailer.
Yep.
So we've been going a while. And next week we'll be back with something that will not be a review. There's been talk about doing another season. We may or may not do that, but we're not doing it immediately. We're going to have a couple episodes in between. We're probably going to do another figure breakdown, and we have an interview coming up and a few other things. So yeah, I'm exhausted and excited.
It's a thing. Like, I don't know. I feel like not only Beast Morphers being our first series that we completed, but I feel like the timing too kind of made it hit a little bit differently than this. Not in a bad way per se for this season, but like we were a lot more invested, I feel like, in Power Rangers at the time because we couldn't really be invested in other things.
What do you mean?
Because it was mid-COVID, so we were literally just
right.
You know what we have to look forward to? Talking to each other about Power Rangers.
Yeah. One last thing before we go, because you're right, we're like hour 10 now, which I think is fine for the finale, but I know you have things to do. The giveaway, we're at 278 subscribers on the new channel. Again, talking about how we've been doing this for years. We switched channels, that's why. The next giveaway will be at 300. There's a bunch of Power Rangers toys and things I'm not going to get into. There's plenty of videos about that. We're going to add one more new thing at that. That may or may not be our last giveaway, depending on participation. I am going to change the way I do it where, okay, I don't want to get too into it, but you're going to have to comment to win. That's what I'm going to say. Because I've been having issues with people. The past one, like once somebody wins, I announce it. And if they don't contact me, I have no way to contact them. The only way I could do it, I found, is if they leave a comment, I could respond to that comment and then they see it. But you can't send messages through YouTube. And not everybody follows us on the social media. And I've been weirdly having to chase people down to give them their prizes. And that makes no sense. So just subscribe, because you're not eligible if you don't subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. There's a possibility the next giveaway will be at 300. It might be a big old bucket of stuff, so it's, and your chances are pretty good because a lot of people are not, if they don't comment, it's not going to be 1 out of 300. It's going to be 1 out of like 20. You know what I mean? So just look forward to that. And then we'll be back next week with something else. Until then.
I was just going to say, good season. Good, making it all the way around for better or worse release schedule, and another one in the books for us.
Absolutely. And I'm looking forward to season 3, but that's not going to be for a while. Until then, I've been Gazbot.
Still the big dog. And the power. See you later.
And credits.
Final Dino Fury talk over the credits. Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding. You.
Man, look at those young bucks right there.
They didn't know. They thought they were going to be filming. They thought After Effects was going to be put in, and
they were like, you know what? Let's film a bunch of stuff because the sky is the limit. And then they realized they were indoors.
Yeah. Anyway, see you next week. Good goes.
Bye.